Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to RBPK Productions. I'm your host, as always, Jesse, and we're going to be doing a clay figurine of my favorite Pokemon, if not one of my top 5 favorite, the Gen 1 single bug Pokemon, Pinsir. Now, I've had this footage since before I moved to my new apartment, and it kind of got shelved for a long time, so I recently found it. I was like, well, let's edit it and see what's going on, and it looks good enough. So I do want to ask for your patience on this one, as it was extremely long, because this was before I had better software and everything like that. So it is going to go into some seriously good detail and everything like that, but I hope you guys enjoy it. And so let's just get right into it, okay? Okay, so we got some regular dark earth brown to work on the Pinsir body. Again, I'm going to be working this really hard because this particular clay gets a little bit harder. The darker ones do sometimes. Again, it just depends on the store and how long they've had it. But again, I start working on that oval egg shape of the body, making sure it's to proportion. Again, I have a stuffed Pinsir up above that someone gave me a few years back, which I absolutely cherish. It's actually sitting above my computer screen right now. But I used him for a lot of reference, and I was making sure to look on the internet to make sure that I got the most accurate depiction, seeing as this is literally one of my favorite Pokemon of all time. For this one, I'm using a more glossy Primo brand rather than the standard Sculpey 3 or Sculpey 2 models that you can buy. And funny little fact, I worked a long time, surprisingly, on this portion of the video. This is about 10 times speed, but I worked a long time making sure his legs were not only to proportion, but looked good and didn't, you know, look chibi or overformed or deformed or anything of that sort. Again, not against anything to chibi people, because I know a lot of people like that art style, but for me, I like proportion a lot better. It looks a little more to scale, if you will, to what it would be for an action figure or a toy. Again, this is kind of glorified toy making, if you will. But anyway, if you look over in the corner, just by my mouse, out of frame slightly by the speaker, you'll see a little yellow figure. That's actually a Dunsparce. And if you look on my Deviantart, you'll be able to see that. As of right now, I'm working on his arms at the moment, and you're probably going, well, what are you doing? Well, I'm using an embezzling tool. Again, you can find those near the jewelry section at a Hobby Lobby. What I'm doing is I'm taking the noodle forms for his arms and placing them inside, and after that, I'm going to puncture them to make sure that they don't create an air pocket when you do fuse them. So I did kind of roll them and get them fused, but you still have that joint and see that little hole there. I did the same exact thing to there, and I also put like a hole in the wrist so that when I added the hand portion, it would create a secondary carapace joint, insect-like thing going on. Like that element, like as you know, most bugs, including Pinsir, which is a bug Pokemon, are going to have this joint separation, because again, the outer exoskeleton is hard, and it's not like us where we have bones on the inside and our skin is seamless. Well, a different thing can be said for this Pokemon. So again, I'm just putting little holes in his wrist so that I can hold on the hands a little later and hold the glue as well. So I'm kind of pre-forming, pre-fitting everything, making sure everything is going to fit together, getting all the brown pieces done and out of the way, because I was a little afraid of staining in my hands. The great thing about Primo is, while it is harder and you need a little stronger hands to work with it, you don't have to worry so much about it staining your hands, surprisingly, because it's so glossy and plastic-like. And again, right now I'm just kind of pre-fitting and everything like that. I made dimples so his arm sockets could be, you know, sunken in. Again, and I placed spikes in there. I cross hatches inside so that air could escape again. Before I worked on this project, I do distinctly remember the one before this, actually kind of the back of his legs exploded slightly and cracked, and while it didn't blow the legs off, those cracks can be unsightly. So I did the pre-fit, and now I'm moving on to the horns and teeth and the toes, essentially the white pieces. So I had some scrap Primo white. Again, I'm going with the Primo for this one because it's very glossy and it works well with the satin finish that I'll put on it a little later, and you will see the final product a little later. But as of now, I'm just kind of working on it, getting his little hands put together, getting those claws. I was really struggling with those a little bit because they were starting to look a little nubby and not claw-like, so I kind of sharpened them a little bit with my thumbs, kind of rolling them around slightly, and making sure everything was kind of to shape. And so I'm going to be working on the horns now. Now, the horns are like the linchpin of everything on this guy. Like, it's the most important part. If you don't have good horns on a Pinsir, well, they look like crap, you know. And right now I'm just going to struggle trying to get them to look good, and look, again, proportionate, because if they're not to scale, it throws the whole thing off. And so I had to tear off a little bit here and there and just make sure that everything looked right. I had to shrink them down quite a bit more than I thought to make them look like it. And again, I go into great detail and look at the character for about 30-40 minutes before I even do this at times, especially on these higher technical characters with the small spikes and stuff that I'm putting on his horns now. I just wanted to be sure to do this character justice. And while today I'm not the happiest with the project, a lot of people have given me a lot of compliments on him. Surprisingly, it's one of their favorites. While it's not my personal favorite, I would say that, you know, I've gotten tons of compliments on it. And I'm just a little surprised as he's not my favorite of all the things I've done. With that said, right now I'm working on the eye portion. That's why I showed you with my little glasses there. I'm kind of poking them out a little bit, digging into the clay. I'm using my X-Acto knife to kind of slice into the clay, and as I showed you, I'm trying to fill it in with some white. Now I did make a little, this is where I don't like the character. I used the embezzler to push it in, and I just could not get the smooth out, and so there's little slight dimples. And this is where I take some black and put it in there, and I'm going to start working on his mouth as well to make sure that it looks good. Again, he has a vertical mouth, as you guys know, and so those little tiny holes are going to be for his little teeth and everything like that. So I just want to make sure to get him right, but I was just really worried. So I took this like tablet style shape and kind of again, I embezzled his mouth and his eyes in, and I did the same thing for his mouth. I kind of pushed the clay in, cut it out a little bit, cut an outline, and then instead of removing material, which normally is what I do, for the most part, I just kind of pressed it in and compacted it, and I think it really helped with his the tensile strength of the clay during the heating process, which is at about 275 degrees. Since I didn't have the clay to show you, I might as well tell you that now, and again, I'll tell you that towards the end. But anyways, I'm getting the teeth filed in, putting him on there. That's fairly easy. The mouth was, but the eyes really just gave me fits. And again, I went a little overzealous with the embezzling tool. Honestly, I should have just used my fingers, but literally, he was like the third project I ever did, and he was not my favorite of the three that I had done at first. But I got him all put together, and I'm working on the minor details and stuff, and I'm showing you all the clay. This one's going to be a tan. This is the tan I usually use for wood and stuff in a lot of my projects. I know you probably couldn't see that because, again, I was just getting used to this. This was literally the first actual time that I actually recorded myself doing this, and it's a little embarrassing to say the least, but right now I'm going to be working on a basket. I was like, you know, I like Pinsir and all, but I want to add a lot to this one since this is my first one, and being as it is my least favorite video and my least favorite build, as far as how everything turned out, the minor details I will to my own horn in saying they were fantastic. And right now I'm just going to kind of weave that and make it look really good, and make it look rough, you know, make it look like it was all handmade. Of course, the irony being that it is handmade anyway. I decided, you know, I was looking at some Pokemon berries from the game and from the anime, and I was like, well, let's just add some of those in there for a nice accent, since this was around Easter time, believe it or not, and when I did this, and it was a long time ago, the more I think about it, was really just weaving this basket to make it look good, and getting that nice and rolled out. And honestly, I would like to do more technical stuff like this, and if you guys like it, please leave a comment down below if you want me to add more things like this to the builds and stuff like that. So now I'm going to be spending the long arduous task of like making more berries. Again, I made an orange berry there, and I kind of dented it, adding a little bit of green on top for the leaf or the stem portion that kind of attaches it to whatever tree you're getting it from. Again, making them fairly basic for the most part, and getting that done. But I was just like, I don't want to just make orange berries, you know. And then I made a lum berry. Again, forgive me if I forget some of these, but I'm making just a ton of these. And I kind of do some off camera towards the end. I think I'm making a cornberry now. I thought corn's one of my favorite bands, and I like corn in general. It's good food, and so I was like, yeah, it's blue corn, just like the chips I really like. So I decided to make some of those, and I think I made a no-mel berry, which is that long one. I made a tomato berry. I think those are wiki berries. It has like a tan with a green stripe. I was like, I have plenty of that. And again, I kind of moved the camera out of place by accident. I had some leaves in there, make it look like a slight cornucopia or a cornuplane. And I really tried hard to make it look as good as possible. And I wanted to make sure, yeah, I'm sorry for the seizure warning, but I tried to make it look as good as possible. Again, I did some work off off screen. Right now I'm working on a stump. The stump is going to kind of accent everything. Again, it's going to be out in the woods. I called this piece the Pinsir counter. If you guys have to check that out, I don't know what the reference is to. Head over to my Deviantart page. That's where I put a lot of this art that's done that I don't record. And luckily enough, I did record this one. But again, I like making stumps for some reason. So again, I don't like a clear base personally. It just doesn't add too much to it. And I guess this is a good way to make it a little more, again, Jesse flared and make it look over the top, I guess. And I like the minor details, so I'm making some pebbles and stuff like that. Made a little water basin with some leaves in it. Right now I'm kind of cutting up a bunch of scrap that I had left over from some other projects and placing it to make a stone path, and it really does come together towards the end. But really it's just getting this whole thing set up. And again, I kind of made the mistake of not laying down some tinfoil. Again, tinfoil will save your life before you bake. Set down tinfoil on your sheet so it doesn't create a vacuum under the pan, which can make it very difficult. Tinfoil is important, so even when you're pre-fitting and stuff, tinfoil can help when you're putting it on a wooden base, plastic, whatever you have at hand. So here I baked everything at, again, 275 degrees, and I'm starting to glue everything together. I did mess up in not putting the lines that make up your body carapace, so I had to do that with a Sharpie, and luckily enough it stuck and it turned out pretty well. Unfortunately, my hands are really shaky, so it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to as far as straight lines go, simply because I just can't hold my hands straight enough. And I get really worried about painting, as I mentioned before, I hate it. But at the moment, I'm trying to get it form fitted and put together. In the past, when I moved, I had some kids at my parents' house that were older than me before I got to my apartment, moved in completely. Some kid dropped a box on it and snapped the wrists off, and luckily the arms didn't break or anything, but it's just those stupid hands staying in that little area. And again, I'm just trying to get these all glued down and make sure he looks right and everything like that. And I'm going to satin finish him. And the finished product you can look at later on when I'm done. I'll paint it all up and I'll show a little picture of him, the before and after kind of thing for you. But right now I'm just kind of going over him with that satin finish and getting him look really well. I got a lot of it pre-fit and prefabricated, and I'm getting him nice and glossed up. And I went over him a little more than normal. And another problem I kind of ran into this is that my paintbrush that I used for the satin finish, I didn't run hot water on it to get all the excess off. And again, you see some extra berries like a hondu berry and stuff like that, but I didn't get it all off the first time I used it. I didn't wash it all off, and shame on me, because it left little white flecks of it, you know, in the shape of the brush tip, and it kind of made some weird lines, like some debris on them. It's really not noticeable until you actually look for it, and in a lot of ways it adds a marbled look to him, but it just doesn't, I don't know, it kind of bugs me just a little bit. And again, if you just kind of walked up and saw this, I've seen people that want to buy it and stuff like that, and I've just been really apprehensive about selling them. It's not because I don't want to, but because it just, I don't know, I get worried that people are going to be like, oh, it sucks, you know, I don't, you know, never mind that I spent, you know, literally several hours on this and stuff like that. And again, I love the minor details, but the figurine just kind of bugs me just slightly with all the minor crap that happened. It was as if I was forbade to finish this video and make it look right, and so I put a lot of extra work in this thing and made sure that everything was just pre-fitted, made sure that everything was looking well, and despite my best efforts to screw it up, I'm pretty happy with what happened. And again, getting this all pre-painted up, and then I'm going to spend my time kind of painting up the little fruits individually, and because my hands were just getting satiny and sticky, and just they started to glaze up, and I don't know, it was irritating. This one fought me all the way to the bank kind of thing. So right now I'm just getting everything glossed up, painting a tomato berry, and there's a no-mail homage, some mago berries, some stems and stuff, like the minor stuff I really enjoyed making. And again, if you like this, guys, please tell me. Again, I'm just kind of waiting for it to dry. The fruit's dried a lot faster, as you can see, the little white residue. It's got to have time to cure, and so but luckily the fruit cures pretty fast, so all you gotta do is kind of put that, you know, everywhere and make sure that everything is kind of good. But I didn't like that the tomato one was in his hand, and so I just decided to kind of put it on the floor, so it looks like he attacked. Now for this, I'm adding a little bit of an extra accent. I went out and spent a little more money. than I needed to, but I really like this. It adds an overgrowth look to it, so I went and got some of the LARP live action tabletop grass and bush accent, kind of like added that to it. I think it looked good. I think that it kind of added to the build itself. It really added a natural outdoors look. I went a little overzealous with glue, I will be honest, but since I've had it, I've kind of cleaned it up here and there, and it doesn't look nearly as bad as all that glue was. It just looked like a spider web, and if I left it, I'm sure people are like, oh, it's like it's, you know, bugs and stuff, but, you know, it looks like he scared someone off and took their food. So again, I want to thank you guys for this, and I hope that you enjoyed the video and everything like that, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye, and I'll see you in the next video.